A short interview with Stever Robbins, who was our interviewee in Practice Magazine 6 and is now joining me as we launch our Practice Magazine. And I just wanted to see what Steve's been up to, because I mean, all I know is he's been up to 282 episodes of his podcast, which is a very consistent, track record. So what's up with the podcast, Stever?
What's up with the podcast? Well, there's a few things up. One is I have quietly been shifting. I don't know if you've been noticing, from really detailed productivity tips into things that are more psychological in nature and cultural in nature. For example, my episode 2 weeks ago was on the idea of identity. Excuse me. This is something that I picked up in my psychological wanderings around the world, which is essentially instead of thinking what habits or behaviors do I want to adopt, if you ask the question, who do I want to be in the world? And really create this idea of, I want to be this kind of person. So almost create a whole new mental role model for yourself as the person you want to be. It can be very, very powerful and compelling, surprisingly so, especially if you remind yourself of it on a regular basis. So I sat down and spent a few hours one day crafting an entire mental idea of who do I want to be professionally, how do I want to show up, how do I want to behave, and in particular, how is the professional Stever different from the normal everyday Stever? Right. Because, a normal everyday Stever is a wonderful guy, except that some of the ways that I deal with my friends are not necessarily good ways to deal with business, right? If a friend says, "Oh, would you drive me to Vermont for the weekend?" I might go, "Sure, I'll do that." If a business associate says, "So, will you just go ahead and record 16 hours of custom audio for me for free?" I don't want to have that same, "Oh, sure," kind of reaction. Right. A professional Stever will say, "Well, 16 hours of audio, that will, happily run you $40,000. Are you really sure you want to do this?" So I crafted this whole idea of who professional Stever is, and I got him really rich and detailed in my mind. And what's funny is I've started looking through style magazines like GQ and some of these men's magazines. And I'm like, why am I doing this? I've never cared about style at all. I mean, well, you look at me. I didn't know this was an interview, and I'm actually wearing a button-down shirt with fancy cuffs and things. Whoa. I would never wear this, except that this morning I got up and I thought, and remember, I didn't realize this was going to be an interview.
Exactly.
So I was just in the mood, and I was like, since when have I ever in my entire life been in the mood to dress nicely? Like, this is extremely foreign. So to get back to your question, the get it done guy is I'm beginning to shift more from the micro tips about here's how you label your file folders into more macro things, but here is how you approach yourself, your life, your career, your business in general.
Yeah, I think it's just a very, very good point, because as I've been analyzing, my career, I've noticed that once you think you want to achieve something, and this something becomes a very big goal of yours, what happens is that your decisions impact this. I mean, what you decide along the way, unconsciously, you decide towards this goal, although you just don't realize it, right?
Yes, well, and that's the thing. If you have to learn all these little micro skills, that's actually a tremendous amount of effort. Right. If instead you can get the unconscious programs going so that you just automatically start doing the things that make sense. I've actually, interesting. I've been through, I think since the last time we talked, I've been through a very different set of thinking about goals. Actually, I'm not sure exactly when we talked, but for a while, I had abandoned the idea of goals altogether.
Okay.
Because, at least with respect to life goals, not necessarily with respect to smaller goals, but with respect to bigger level things, I had abandoned the idea because I had really come around to a place of believing that most of life is so uncontrollable that all that goals do is give us an illusion of control where we in fact have none. Mm-hmm. And I have now reintroduced goals into my life, but I've reintroduced them with a very different understanding of them. Rather than setting a goal because I believe I'm going to reach it, or that even I want to reach it. I mean, how many goals have you reached, and once you got it, you're like, oh, that wasn't as much fun as I thought it would be. Exactly. That looks a lot better, on the movie screen than it does in real life. Right. I would put, zip lining and skydiving and things like that into possibly into that category. I still actually have not actually ever gone skydiving, but I have the feeling it wouldn't be nearly as much fun as they make it look in the James Bond movies.
Exactly.
I would probably, in fact, mess up my pants, and that would not be pleasant. But in any event, uh, the where I've come around to, at least at the moment, and who
Yeah.
knows where I'll be in 5 years on this, is that what goals do is, because when you put them in your brain does start using them as a decision-making device
Right.
and as a way to tell where to go. They're good for getting you to make certain kinds of decisions, and they're good for pointing you in a certain direction.
Right.
The key is you set a goal so that your brain will point you in a direction.
Right.
That's very different from setting a goal because you want to reach the goal.
Okay.
So in fact, I might
Right.
set a goal that I don't care if I reach it or not.
Right.
Well, I mean, I have to care enough that I'm motivated by it, and so my brain engages. But the point of that goal isn't so much to reach the goal, but it's the journey that is going to force me to take.
Right.
So I would set a goal because the goal will motivate a journey. And the question I'm asking is not what goals do I want to set. The question I'm asking is what journeys do I want to go on. Once I answer the question of what journeys I want to go on, then I can figure out what goal I need to set in order to put me on that journey.
Yeah.
So like, for example, in business terms, I'm an executive coach, an executive and a life coach. So I'm basically a super smart person. I partner with people and help them get done whatever they want to get done, either in the business realm and more in the life realm of changing careers and starting companies and things like that. And the way that I've always prospected has been things like the podcast, and has been outbound marketing, writing articles, getting my name known, etc.
Yeah.
The problem is I don't actually like sitting in my apartment writing articles. Like, I'm good at it. I'm very good at it, but it's not fun for me. It's, and if you've ever written a book, you will understand that. Even a lot of professional writers, they're like, I hate writing, but I must do it. I'm not like that. I hate writing, and I don't actually have to do it.
Okay.
I haven't known what to do instead. And I discovered that what I love doing is coaching. Now, I've known this for 13 years, which is how long I've been doing this. But I never thought about that as a prospecting activity. I always thought that coaching was what I did once I had already landed a client. And earlier this year, I was talking to someone, and I was saying, oh, God, I'm just getting so tired of being in business for myself because I spend all of this time doing these things that I don't like, the writing and, doing all this marketing stuff, so that I can get to do a teensy-weensy little bit of the stuff that I do like, which is the coaching. And so let's be clear in terms of the previous framework. So the journey that I want to take is the experience that I want to be having moment to moment. Is I love coaching. Right. I want to be on the journey where I am the coach.
Right.
And what he pointed out to me is, he said, well, look at your client list. How many of these clients did you get from marketing activities, and how many of them did you get from direct referral, or because you met them and you coached them for an hour and they went like, wow, this is great, I want more of it. And I looked and I said, well, probably 85 to 90% of my clients came from the latter. They came from direct referral or from times when I had coached them. And he said, well, if what you do is love coaching, why don't you set a goal to spend X number of hours coaching people, however you can possibly get that time, whether you go and do public speaking and then meet with them afterwards, whatever. But he said, make that be the journey you're on, not the journey of writing and marketing stuff.
Right.
And to see where that journey leads you. So that's what I started doing, and I started meeting people and just engaging them. Now that's very different. Instead of going after a mass audience, now I'm meeting people one-on-one through referral, at different events, and they say, hi, my name's Fred. Who are you? And I look at them and I go, I'm Stever. Where is your life not perfect? And they look, they get very taken aback for a minute, and they go, and I'm like, your life is perfect? And they go, no. I'm like, oh, great. Well, where isn't it perfect? And they say, well, it's not perfect because I've always wanted this thing, and I wanted to be an artist, and instead I became an investment banker, and I hate my life. And I'm like, okay, great. Now we can have a conversation. And we end up having that conversation, and then they call me up 2 days later and say, so now that I'm changing careers, selling my house, divorcing my spouse, and going off on my 9-year vision quest, I need some help with this. And I say, great. Remember that severance pay? Just go ahead and sign it right over to me, and we'll make everything work out fine. But what I've done is I've set a goal of having a certain number of hours of one-on-one coaching interaction with people every month. It's not that I actually care about reaching that number of hours. It's that by having that goal, when I don't know what to do in the morning and I sit down at my desk, I go, oh, well, my goal is to have 100 hours. And I've only logged 20 of them, so let me log a few more hours right now. Let me start calling people and reconnecting and whatever. So this is a case where I've set a goal of 100 hours of coaching conversations with people in a month.
Okay.
And I don't even think it's a realistic goal. I mean, just unless I already had them on the schedule, it takes enough time to set up the meetings that there's not a full 100 hours left over. But excuse me. But by having that as the goal, it is motivating a journey which I really like, which is the journey of spending way more time with people and way less time typing stuff and writing articles.
Exactly.
So that's the direction that the Get It Done guy is going. And the Get It Done guy is subject to those same constraints. At some point, I may say, "Gee, I need to turn the Get It Done guy into something that allows people, or that allows me to start having one-on-one contact with people instead of just this anonymous, purely broadcast mechanism." So I haven't. I don't know whether or not the people at Macmillan who own the podcast are going to be listening to this interview, because I certainly haven't talked to them about this yet, but you're going to hear it first. I'm planning on talking to the people at Macmillan about doing some things like maybe having a weekly live call-in show where you call in, and the only way you can the only way you can experience the show, we're not going to record it, or maybe we will record it, but it might be a subscription if you want to listen to past episodes. You actually call in and then you say, "Hey, Stever, here's my issue," and I'll go, "Great. Let's talk about that." And so it'll essentially be a live coaching show, which will give me a chance to coach. It will give people a chance to interactively hear me and hear how I do it. And it'll be fun. And it will be a much more interactive thing than the Get It Done guy, which, with the Get It Done guy, I write the episode, then I send it to Macmillan, and then they make edits, and they're the ones who make sure that I sound very nice and sweet instead of my normal cynical self.
Okay.
Right? Then I turn it into a script, and then I actually read the script. This is the script for episode 283, which is going to go up tomorrow morning, right? And here's the microphone that I'm going to record it on. And in fact, probably right after this call, I'm going to do the recording. Whereas the live interview or the live radio show, or however we decide to frame this, and I'm sitting here talking as if they've agreed to this. I have no clue whether it's going to happen. But this is a goal which is being driven not because the goal itself is desirable, but because the experience I want, which is the experience of interactively working with people, is an experience that I want to have more of. So I'm setting my goals to create that experience more and more in my life. Make sense?
It makes perfect sense. Yeah. Wow. This is exactly. I mean, there are this let's say cookie the cookie wisdom. Like the journey is the destination, right? The journey is the destination.
The journey is the reward.
It's the reward. Exactly. So this is exactly what you're saying. And but you're right. I mean, I've seen people really making wrong decisions because they didn't know who they want to be and what journey they want to be on. That's right. And I caught myself several times also making wrong decisions because I wasn't sure what kind of journey I want to be on, and because sometimes things get you excited and you want to try different things, but as you said, they're not as much fun as you think they will be, and then you're on a different journeys that you don't want to be on. Right.
And if you've locked yourself into that journey, and it doesn't mean by commitment, I mean just mentally, like I do that all the time. I'll go, I'll try this little thing, and then a year and a half later, I'm not enjoying it, but I forgot that it was my choice to start it to begin with, and I can just stop it anytime I want to. And another thing which I haven't really started discussing this in the Get It Done guy yet, which maybe I should do. Sorry, writing a note about this very thing.
Perfect.
Is that instead of thinking of life as a lot, at least in America, I don't know, where are you?
From Poland, but I live in Spain, so from Europe, let's say.
Okay, from Europe. Got it. I have no idea if it's like this in Europe, because I know that culturally it's somewhat different. But in America, to a large degree, your identity is defined by your career.
Right.
And the problem with this is that we aren't our careers. In fact, the entire concept of a career is only about 100 years old. Prior to the Industrial Revolution, people didn't have careers; they had trades, and everyone was an entrepreneur. And it was really interesting if you think about that. A very different world than we live in today.
Right.
And I have, I know I don't look it, but I'm 49 years old, and I have, so that puts me theoretically about 2/3 through my work history. And I keep going, gee, at some point I'll find my ultimate career. Maybe it's coaching because I've been doing it for 13 years, but I don't know. And then I realized, wait a minute, why does there have to be a career?
Exactly.
You know, how come life isn't just a series of experiments? And some of them you try and you don't like, and some of them you try and you do like. And why don't we just have support where, you say, hey, I'm going to do this work initiative. Stever, let's partner. I want to do this as an experiment for 8 months. And at the end of 8 months, we'll see how it's going. And at the end of 8 months, you say, you know what? I've decided this isn't working. So I'm going to go do something else.
Right.
Instead of us being wedded to, oh, we have to force it to work. Why?
Yeah.
We experimented. I discovered I didn't like it as much as I thought I would. And I'll go on to something else.
Right.
So, this is, this is in fact my problem with the whole personal productivity space.
Right.
Actually, which if you've read my book, I allude to this in the introduction of the book, although
Yeah.
there used to be an entire chapter devoted to it, but they made me take that chapter out.
Oh, they did?
Yeah. Yeah, they said this does not belong in the book. I thought it belonged in the book. And what the chapter was about was it essentially was saying, don't get too productive until you're sure you know what you want to be productive at.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're doing something you don't like and you get really productive at it, you're going to get really, really good at moving in the wrong direction quickly.
Okay.
And and that's not going to take you any place you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
What it's going to do is increase the demands on you to do stuff you don't want to do.
Right.
And and by the way, I speak from personal experience. I'm really good at getting good at things, whether I like them or not. And what I've noticed is that when I get good at something I don't like, people still want me to do a lot of it because I'm so good at it.
Right, right. Oh, that's a big problem. Yeah.
Yeah. So so be careful. Productivity is something that you want only in the areas of your life where you really want to produce more and more results.
Right.
And if there's an area where you don't really want to spend your time, get productive so you can only spend a little bit of time there, but don't let anyone know how productive you are. So, get your report written in 5 minutes, but turn it in a day late.
Yeah.
So that way they're not going to ask you to do that kind of report again. They're going to go, oh my gosh, that Michael, every time we ask him to do a marketing report, he turns it in a day late. Now in fact, you have it done 3 weeks in advance. You're just not telling them because you don't want them to keep coming to you asking you to do more marketing reports.
Exactly.
So this is I may be speaking heresy here for the personal productivity world, but
no, you're not. The thing is, I measure. For example, in my case, I'm running a company, and I'm running a company, with a tool that helps people get things done, right? So the thing is that, in my perspective, my company is getting successful and it's growing. So I have bigger team and everything. So now I have to really every day. Actually, I'm studying right now what I'm doing, to make sure that if this thing, what I'm doing right now, doesn't belong to my job description as the CEO of this company, or should I not do it, or should I delegate it to someone, or should I just, document it and put it just right, away or something. So every time I'm starting to curse too much while doing something, even if I'm doing it fast and pretty well, I understand, okay, this is not something I should be doing, right? Because I'm cursing too much.
Right. Well, and it's funny that you use that specific example. One of the early coaching engagements I did was with a woman who was a CEO, and she was completely overloaded. Like, she just had more work than any human being could possibly do. And we went through her to-do list, and her to-do list was full of all of this stuff that buy new trash liners for the office or things like this, which might have been appropriate when the company had 3 people, but when the company has 45 people, that's no longer her job. And I asked her to take a look at her to-do list, and I said, I want you to tell me, is this the to-do list of a leader, or is this the to-do list of a worker?
Exactly.
And she went through, and as soon as she asked that question, she's like, well, this is not the to-do list of a leader. I'm like, great, what would the to-do list of a leader look like? And she said, oh, it would have things on it like strategy planning session and develop new vendor relationships and hire people and work on morale. I'm like, great, write those things down. That's your new to-do list. And by the way, add on to that, delegate all the crap on my old to-do list.
Exactly.
So I call that the to-do list of a leader. And if you think about it, that's the same identity thing we were talking about before.
Right.
If I offer her, if your identity is a leader, what's your to-do list? What if I said your identity is as an artist and this is your day job? Now, what does your to-do list become?
Right.
Right? Or
Exactly.
your identity is that of a husband,
Mm-hmm.
and that's your primary identity, and this is the way that you feed your family. Does that change your to-do list? And it's interesting because which one of these identities you put on will change the things you think are important and the things that will get you to, because if your ultimate driving force is I'm a homemaker, or, I'm the breadwinner for people I love, that's a really different business to be in than a I am a tech entrepreneur who is going to be in the S&P 100 in 5 years.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
um, so
Exactly.
yeah. So anyway, I'm getting way more interested in those larger level things now, and in applying those than in the kind of micro productivity stuff.
So can you tell our readers then how to reach you and how to reach you and how to start the conversation and how can they tell you how their life how imperfect their life is?
Oh, okay. Well, actually, or how perfect, but they want more.
Yeah.
Uh, you can reach me at steverrobbins.com. That's steverrobbins.com. And my email address is stever@steverrobbins.com. Very easy. Or you can just go to the website and use the contact form. The contact form I really need to revise that. That's been on my to-do list for the last week or so. It in fact includes a few questions that are along the lines of how can I help you? But what I would say is, if you want to contact me, give some thought into where do you want to see results in your life that you're not seeing them,
Mm-hmm.
or that you can imagine them and are either afraid or hesitant to try them because it's unusual or it's out of your comfort zone, and really think about what kind of support and help could you use. Is it help getting past your own mental blocks? Is it help rearranging your life so that you have the opportunities to do things? Is it help just being willing to, or is it just you need accountability? I met the person who runs a division of one of the largest companies in the US, and I'm all impressed and amazed by this person. And at the end of our meeting, they take me over to their car and open the trunk and pull out this sculpture. And I'm like, what's this? And they say, I've been working on this for 20 years. And I'm like, really? Yes, I never go anywhere without it. I carry it with me. I travel with me, and I'm afraid to try to get it into a museum or a gallery or do anything with it.
Wow.
And I'm like, have you tried at all? They're like, no, I'm too scared. I'm like, this is a person who has budgets in the millions of dollars, and they're scared. So I'm like, great. Guess what we can do together? We're going to go visit some galleries
Exactly.
and see what we can do. Um, so if you have your sculpture, or it might be the company you want to start, or the nonprofit, or the thing you are starting and need to grow, or whatever, um, you know let me know what it is, and also, uh, these I do this for business, so there is the expectation of payment.
Right.
As inspired as I am by people's dreams, I need to make sure that professional Stever says you have to get paid. Social Stever says, no, I can help everyone for free. And professional Stever then beats me over the head with a bataka bat. but
Yes, but if you want to taste the unprofessional Stever, try the Get It Done podcast, Get It Done Guy podcast, and the Get It Done Guy book, and then try to contact the professional Stever on the steverrobbins.com website. So,
exactly.
Stever.